All right, so this one video is going to screen out a whole bunch of different types of malware. All right, let's start with probably the one that intrigues me the most. I think whoever came up with this is actually brilliant, although they're absolute jerks. All right, and that would be ransomware. And what ransomware is in a nutshell is someone gets onto your computer, they install encryption software, they encrypt all of your data, all your important data, videos, pictures, music, documents, downloads, whatever it is, and basically say, hey, either pay us X amount of dollars or we're going to delete your data at a certain point in time. End. That's it. All right. And after that certain point, either the key expires or whatever, and you can't get your data back, in theory at least. Supposedly, there are some solutions to this, but overall, it's kind of you're up a creek without a paddle if someone gets on your system and you don't have your backup offsite, disconnected, whatever you want to call it, from your computer. So, I said it's kind of brilliant in the long run. I mean, how they did this, but man, that person is a jerk, whoever came up with this. Next type would be worms. All right, this is a type of malware that spreads copies of itself from computer to computer. A worm can replicate without human interaction, and it does not need to attach itself to a software program in order to cause damage. All right, so it's a worm. It just kind of keeps moving on. It goes from one computer to the next, and it just keeps spreading and spreading and spreading and spreading and spreading. So something to be aware of. Next, we have Trojans, or Trojan horse. All right, so basically it's a Trojan horse, right? If we all remember the story of Trojans who built a horse and they all hid inside of it and they gave it to their enemy and that who brought them into their stronghold, and in the middle of the night they came out of the Trojan horse. All right, same idea for a Trojan worm or whatever. It looks like legitimate, but it can take control of your computer. All right, so it looks like a good purposeful software, something that you love, something that you want, but after a certain amount of time, it basically just ejects itself onto your computer. It is designed to damage, disrupt, steal, or in general inflict some other harmful action on your data or network. All right. Next, we have rootkits. This is a collection of computer software, typically malicious, and is designed to enable access to a computer or an area of its software that is not otherwise allowed. All right. We take rootkit into two different words. We have root, which is kind of the super user of the Linux world type of thing. It's like the base, most powerful user. So root is going to give you access to everything. And kit is collection. So it's a collection of software. This software traditionally is very hard to detect because it embeds itself in the normal process of the computer and its operating system, which means most virus software can't find it. Now, some of virus softwares do have at least some capability of finding it. They can like pause Windows when it's booting or something like that and get into a much deeper clean of it. I believe Windows Defender does actually have that option as something that that it can do. Hold on one sec. And we're back. All right, so as you can see here, Windows Defender does have Windows Security has a few different scan options, and this Defender offline scan is the one that I was just talking about. You guys can't see it. Now you can. All right, so this Windows Defender offline scan is the one that I was just talking about. As I said, you can see it says help find and remove using up-to-date threat definition. So basically what this does is it kind of pauses Windows booting and then does a scan at that point before everything has started, so it's able to dig much deeper into exactly what is going on. So kind of a really nice capability there that's built into Windows nowadays. All right, so next, after the rootkit, we have spyware, which is unwanted software that infiltrates your computing device, stealing your internet usage data and sensitive information. All right. And this could be as simple as, a little whatever on your computer, little software installed on your computer that is just, saying, oh, what websites are they going to? Or it could be doing a deep dive of your internet or whatever purpose. All right. Next, we have adware, which is unwanted software designed to throw advertisements up on your screen, most often within a web browser. All right. Ads, we all hate them. Install an ad blocker on your computer. Do yourself that favor. There's a few different options out there, but install an ad blocker. Typically, this is they use an underhanded method to get this installed and to disguise it as legitimate software, or it piggybacks on another program and is tricking installing it. How many times have you guys tried to install software? Most recently, for me, it was CC Cleaner. And it said, hey, do you want to install this antivirus at the same time? And I was like, no, I do not want to install your antivirus. I am happy with my antivirus. So just install CC Cleaner. There's a little checkbox I had to press. Check. Another one software I installed somewhat recently, I forget exactly what it was, but when I downloaded it, it didn't even give me the option. It just started installing that crap. And I'm like, no, not what I wanted. When I went to look at the website for the download again, it actually had checkboxes right on the website. So before you even got to download it, you had to select which of them you wanted to install. Stupid things like that just drive me absolutely insane. Next, we have Malbots or malware bots, and this is self-propagating malware capable of infecting its host and connecting back to a central server. All right. Some malicious bot activity includes relay spam, DDoS attacks, credential stuffing, logging keystrokes, obtaining financial information, and the list kind of just keeps going on and on and on. Hold on a sec. All right, so next up we would have spam, which is emails or whatever designed to make a victim spend money or counterfeit on fake goods or send money or whatever the case is. All right, we've all dealt with spam. If you're looking for a good laugh, James Veitch, there we go. Let's go ahead back to this. He has some hilarious stuff on what happens when you respond to spam. Let's go ahead. I mean, absolutely hilarious. And like his comments that he sends to them and how far he gets them to go. I highly, highly suggest that you guys go look him up because it's just hilarious. He's got like 4 or 5 of them. I think it's worth your time. And some of them are TED Talks. I believe that's what this one is, at least. It's a TED Talk about it. So highly suggest it. It's worth your time in the long run. Next, we have keyloggers. All right. Whole point of a keylogger is to capture what you type in. And there was another TED Talk about a guy who someone stole his computer, and like 10 years later, or 5 years later, he finally was able to remote access back into it again. And he didn't know where it was or anything about the machine, but what he ended up doing was installing a keylogger on the server because he could access it. And he started capturing all this person's information, and he always was confused because there was never any passwords that the guy typed in. Lots of usernames, no passwords. Ended up, guy was saving his passwords, or there were saved passwords on the password manager on the computer. So once the person who owned the computer realized that, he logged into his password manager on that computer and could see all of the guy's passwords. But anyway, keyloggers are meant to capture all the data that you type. Some of the more crazy ones, newer ones, whatever you want to call it, may also include screen captures when you're clicking. So it knows what you've clicked, where you've clicked, what you're typing, those types of things. So a lot of data can be gathered from this. I mean, and the most important one there is your usernames and passwords, right? If all of a sudden you know what the username and password of somebody is and what website they went to because they opened up Chrome and said, all right, go to this website, and you type it out, and then what's the first thing you type in? Your username, then your password. Bam, you now have access to all the person's financial information, all their banking information, maybe their address on their banking information. So keyloggers are exceptionally deadly and something you want to make sure is not happening on your computer. You do also need to be very careful, especially with keyloggers on public computers, because you don't know what's going on that computer, and you log into a website that it's like, okay, you're going to go to the old reader for me, and I'm going to read my news feed. Well, if I just get on a computer, go there, and I type my information, and bam, now someone has all of my credentials, and not something that I want. This is also why it's very important for you to use different usernames and passwords from one website to another, so that way if someone does get your username and password for website A, they can't get onto your stuff for website B. So make sure you have good, secure passwords and different passwords going on. You don't want to just keep them all the same. Next, we have toolbars. All right, so there's multiple things with toolbars. One, there are fake toolbars or add-ons or extensions, whatever you want to call it. All right, let's go ahead and just go to Chrome extensions. Let's go ahead and bring back to this. So on Chrome, there are extensions that you can install that will make your life easier, or supposedly easier at least. All right, like the Retail Me Not Deal Finder I just might accidentally clicked on, or Grammarly or Cami or things like that. And if you do research on bad, or let's see, malware Chrome extension, there we go. All right. Here's one just from Malwarebytes. But here, check Chrome and remove any of these 70 malware extensions. And they just had a list. And it's like, oh, I use that one. That one's malware. yeah, they might do something good for you, but they also might be collecting all this information from you in the background. So that is something that you do want to be careful of in the long run. So something to think about. Now, the other thing is unnecessary toolbars may get installed on your computer or extensions when they get software installed. It's like, hey, we noticed you installed this antivirus. Here's our antivirus web toolbar for you, or something along those lines. And one of the primary goals of these toolbars that get automatically installed on your computer, and you're like, I don't know when this got installed, but get the damn thing off my computer, is for them to generate even more malware on the computer by redirecting you to other websites. So you're going to click on the buttons on the toolbar because you think you're doing a Google search, and it ends up, no, you're doing a whatever search. And then they're like, well, after you clicked on that button, let's install some software for you. Hey, that'll be nice. So just something to think about. So toolbars, I hate them overall. I hate toolbars. I hate extensions. They do have their good purposes, but sometimes drives me absolutely bonkers. Next, we have hijackers, which are fake viruses on the computer that need to be removed by remote desktop support type of thing. All right, and again, hilarious YouTube videos about this. There's people who just troll the hijackers basically all day. But overall, it's you get a virus on your computer. You may not actually have a virus, but there's a fake antivirus software on your computer that says, hey, there's a virus on your computer. Contact tech support. And they give you a phone number and email or whatever. And you email them and say, yeah, we can help you, but we need to get onto your computer to do it. So you install VNC or whatever, and they log in, and then they start copying your files, and they start moving things around. They talk a good game, but if you know if you actually know anything about computers, their talk is absolutely horrible. But then they can get on your computer, and then they can go, yeah, okay, now we need you to send us some gift cards and whatever. So hijackers. Next, one of my favorite, war driving and warshipping. All right. This is an act of searching for Wi-Fi wireless networks, usually from a moving vehicle using a laptop or smartphone or those types of things. All right. Nice example that I have here is wiggle.net. I know. Hilarious name. Maybe it's not Wiggle. Hold on a second. It's not loading. All right, and I found it. It's Wiggle. It is Wiggle. W-I-G-L-E. I did 2 G's. That was my problem. Anyway. So this is a website where people have publicly posted the information they've captured from this sort of war driving thing, and you can see all the blue dots of all the different data for the local Hagerstown area. And it actually allows you to do searches and things like that. So I am going to do a search, and I'm going to do HCC percent because I put an extra backslash on that. Percent is the wild card, which means it's going to grab all of the extra stuff. So here, as we can see, we have the HCC student and all the different HCC students and all the different HCC1, HCC VPOS, so point of sale things. It's just really kind of interesting that all of those different information that has been gathered, and you can search for specific names. Probably another good one would be Linksys. Let's just throw the percent sign at the end of that for a wild card. Doesn't like that one. I wonder why. Anyway, but you can kind of go search for a network so you can see what you can find, and maybe type your own in and see if anyone's gathered your information. So something to look into. However, there's a new one, is the Warshipping, especially now that computers are getting smaller and smaller and smaller, with the Raspberry Pi type of things. I was going to grab one, but I don't see mine just sitting around right now. But with the Raspberry Pi types of small computers, you can put that in a package with a big battery and type of thing, and they ship it to a company. And on that Raspberry Pi is some automated software to try to hack into the network. And you go to a large company and either do a recent employee who recently left or on vacation, or not even a fake employee. And you send this package to them, and hopefully they leave it sit around in their building for a few days before they go, okay, let's mail this back, or, I got fired, so let's ship it to them, or whatever the case is. And they try to hack, use that as an access point. So it's an easy way to get something right into the door of a company without you ever having to walk through it. And it's kind of crazy about that. So, warshipping. All right. Next, we have our phishing scams, which is where thieves attempt to steal personal financial account information by sending deceptive electronic messages that trick unsuspecting consumers into disclosing personal information. With Facebook and things like that nowadays, phishing probably has kind of gone down because, well, you freely give a lot of that information away. You're just like, hey, Facebook, I got a new dog, or my birthday's this, or, all those other fun things. you really should not put any personal information out on the internet anywhere. Yeah, I know, we all do it, but really, the less you put up, the better. All right, especially if we talk about last video with the social hacker, white hat hacker, what was her name? Rachel Toback, with her. So something to think about. Next, we have DOS attacks, or so DOS or DDoS, and DOS is denial of service. DDoS would be distributed denial of service. And basically, this is a network attack in which the hackers are overwhelming servers trying to, with false web traffic, which basically the whole goal of is making the server shut down or block all traffic, basically be overwhelmed with information. So doing it from one computer, it is kind of hard nowadays, especially with some of the automated stuff, which is going, that information is coming from this website or this IP address, just ignore it. When you start getting the distributed aspect of it, and you have thousands or millions of computers all sending information to that one specific server at a time, it becomes much harder for that computer to automatically block out that information. So you've probably heard of DOS attacks before. All right, next we have wabbits. All right, yeah, wabbits, not rabbits, wabbits. All right, and the whole point here is for that to replicate and repeat so quickly that basically your computer chokes on the amount of resources and the processes and things like that are going on, that your computer finally crashes. All right, traditionally this isn't going to be a malicious process, but you know, if your computer is going to crash, there's a good chance of you losing some data, maybe that Word file that you've been working on for hours and never saved. So something to be aware of. Next, we have exploits, which is a piece of code or program that takes advantage of a weakness in an application or a system. And these are traditionally divided by the resulting behavior. So option 1 is arbitrary code execution, privilege escalation, denial of service, or data exposure. And the worst exploits are known as zero-day exploits. These are the exploits that happen day one, Windows, or whatever, new hardware just came out, and there's already probably a security hole in it. Basically, every device that has a computer in it that's especially networked is going to probably have some sort of exploit to it. Now, the exploits you really need to worry about are the ones that are able to be completed remotely, right? Yes, someone could break into your home and access your computer and install software on it. And that is there could be an exploit they took advantage to get to that point. But the worst ones are ones that they don't have to touch your computer. They can just do it completely remotely. And like a lot of web cameras and things like that are the ones that are the biggest issues. And one of the things that was really interesting I saw at some point was a website that gave you the live feeds to hundreds of different web cameras that were unsecured. So basically, you can just go and see people's security cameras or whatever it was. So it's kind of interesting when you start getting into that and you're like, there's a lot of cameras that aren't secure right now. And a lot of that is those zero-day exploits that people are taking advantage of, where the default username and password was never changed, or default username and password was just always hard-coded as root and admin, or root and password, or admin and password, those types of things. Nowadays, we've gotten a bit better with that. A lot of companies are having special or individualized passwords on all their devices. You go buy a router nowadays, instead of you logging in with admin and password, it's admin and password 8924, or giraffe, elephant, ice cream, or something like that. So they're picking 3 random words to put together type of thing to make a password. And that's traditionally printed right on the device. So you should still always go through and change your default devices or default passwords, because that's, the safe thing to do. So something just to contemplate there. So that was our exploits. Next we have our URL, or universal reference link, or universal reference, I believe it's locator. URL, let me make sure that I've got that right. Yeah, uniform resource locator. There we go. And this is, so URL injectors are software that replace a different URL in place of the real URL of the site you were trying to visit. So, and now these aren't true URL injectors, but you get emails where it's like, facebook.com, you reset your password. It says facebook.com, but when you hover your mouse over the link, it's like Facebook home, newsfeed.uk. Whatever. And it's basically They made it look like the link that you're clicking on, like the words you click on, is where you actually want to go. But if you look at where the hyperlink is actually taking you to, it's not what's actually typed out there. So not really an injector there. It's not forcing you to their website, but something you do need to be careful about. An example would be if you're trying to access Facebook, then the link would take you to a place with a different URL but have the identical homepage. So it's tricking you to make you think that you're actually logging into Facebook. And well, now that you gave them a username and password, maybe they do actually log you into Facebook, so it seems like nothing ever happened. Or maybe they don't. They just go, oh, no connection, and that's the end of it. But they still have your username and password. We also have backdoors, which is a method of bypassing authentication. Talked kind of briefly about that with penetration testing, where it's like, well, how can we get into this building if we can't go through the front? You go through the back, and what system, and those types of stuff. And there's, again, backdoors that go along with like everything. We have data mining. This is the practice of examining large databases in order to generate new information. So data mining isn't the whole just, well, we're just going to gather all this information about you and have it. No, we're going to gather all of this information about you, and now we're going to extract things like patterns and knowledge and those types of stuff. And we're going to make educated guesses based on that type of thing. All right. And then luckily, you are being data mined to living hell, basically. All right. If you have a club card, one of those little cards, you have to scan to get bonus points or whatever at the company, or get a discount, oh, that ends on sale. Where's your club card? No sale price, no club card type of thing. They are monitoring everything you buy, and they are going to start, selling. Oh, okay. So this person always buys this. So, when that goes on sale, we make sure we send them an email. Or, well, if they always buy this, maybe we can convert them to our brand if we give them a little bit more of a discount type of thing. And then once they start buying our brand, we'll stop giving them the discount. All of that is all about collecting the data. That's what those little tags are. It's about keeping track of who's buying what, when, where, and all those other fun things. So, yeah. We have time bombs, which are basically, it's viruses or adware or whatever. And the whole point of this is to execute when a specific time condition is met. And this could be used along with a DDoS attack. So basically they install software in a computer and they say, at Wednesday at noon, attack this specific location. All right. And so they could access your computer once. As long as your computer's on, it's good. If not, oh well, they just did one less computer for them. So time bombs. You have the hoaxes, which is the spreading of the false rumors and causing alarm among users. All right, so again, hey, you have a virus on your computer, that software they got installed, so you would call the helpline, right? That's just a hoax malware. All right, it may actually, you could have virus on your software, or you might not actually have a virus. The hard question part there is knowing. All right, hopefully, if you have a good known virus software, that is going to catch all of those things, but not necessarily. We also have password cracking. All right. There's obviously the whole goal here is to get past a password. And there are 3 different types of password crackers. You have a dictionary-based attack, where basically they say, here is a list of most frequently used passwords. Now let's go ahead and quick look up the most frequently used passwords. Use passwords. There we go. And transition to that one. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1 to 9, QWERTY right across the top load. Password number 4. That one I think used to be higher. I love you is number 8. All 6s. These types of things. But anyway, you take a book that has maybe the first, instead of the first 25, the first 1,000 or 2,000 or whatever, and that's what you start with. And just say, okay, try these lists. And with computers nowadays getting so stinking fast, man, those dictionary types of hacks take no time at all. So as long as there's not a maximum number of attempts for a password before either gets reset, account gets locked, or whatever, dictionary attacks are a very powerful way, especially when you have all of that data that you've mined from that person, or from all of that phishing that you've done to gather birthdays and animals and things like that. So, was it Now You See Me, I believe was the name of the movie? Let's see. Yeah, Now You See Me. That video, or in that movie, they talked about data mining the guy to get into his bank account and give all his money away type of thing. So, So dictionary tags, very powerful. This also will take the list of words and you can add permutations. So instead of password spelling it PASSWRD, you may do PA55WRD, or you're replacing those very simple things. O's with zeros, S's with fives, or the money signs. PASS. I don't know. There's other ones, those types of things. L's with one, those, all those really simple ones. Or maybe if you know they have numbers in it, you just replace the one with the exclamation mark or the 6 with the caret sign, those types of things. Next, we have the brute force guessing, which basically just says, okay, we're going to try every possible combination of letters. And if you figure a password is 8 characters, and that can have a possible combination of, well, if we have 52 letters, capital and lowercase, then we have 10 numbers, that's 62, and then 10 symbols, that's 72. So, wow, that's a big number. That is 1.5 times 10 to the 65th number of possible combinations. However, if we can try a million different permutations a second, that still takes a long time to try. All right. Let's divide that by 60 to get us into minutes, then divide that by 60 to get us into hours, then divide that by 24 hours in a day. There's still a lot of possibilities, but as we keep moving up and up and up and up, with computing power, we need more and more possible combinations. So just kind of something to think about when it comes to password cracking. Then you have the hybrid approach, which kind of starts with a dictionary and adds numbers or whatever to the end of it. Next, last one I want to talk about is our web bug, also called a web beacon. And this is a technique used on web pages and email to unobtrusively, usually invisibly, allow checking that a user has accessed some content. All right. An example of this, which is visible, is in Outlook. I can send read request receipts to make sure it's like when someone opens something, it can go, hey, yep, I got an email saying you actually did open this email that I sent you, type of thing. However, websites are doing that in the background all the time. Typically, this is going to be used by third parties to monitor the activity of users at a website for the purpose of web analytics and page tagging and tracking to figure out what was worth their time doing, what wasn't worth their time doing, all those other fun things. This is happening in the background all the time. Again, if you have a username and password, they're tracking your data and they're linking that to your account going, well, you watch this and you watch that, so hey, maybe you want to watch this video, and all those wonderful things. Now, this is most of the list that you guys have to choose from for your homework assignment, your discussion thread this week. There were a few that I did not talk about, but you are still welcome to do. If you guys have any questions, let me know.